Lil Durk's legal fate took a brutal turn when his own camp, OTF Vonnie and Vonnie's father, flipped in court, spilling damning testimony that could lock the Chicago rapper away for life, a devastating blow that comes just days after he nearly walked free on bond. What started as a tense but hopeful courtroom battle for Durk has now exploded into one of the most public betrayals hip-hop has seen in years, with friendships, family ties, and the very foundation of OTF being ripped apart in front of the world. For months, Lil Durk had been fighting tooth and nail to beat the charges stacked against him, charges that already painted a grim picture, but seemed beatable when his lawyers secured a chance for bond. Fans across social media were buzzing with relief when news broke that Durk had posted a hefty sum, a figure that would have made even some industry giants sweat. He was right there on the edge of freedom, ready to step out of that cold cell and back into the city lights, until one courtroom session changed everything. The day started like any other hearing in Durk's long-running case. The room was tense but controlled, with journalists lining the back rows and legal teams adjusting papers with sharp focus. Durk himself sat stone-faced in the defendant's chair, wearing that familiar mix of composure and quiet fire that his fans know so well. Behind him, a few OTF members and family supporters were present, including OTF Vonnie and Vonnie's father, whose presence seemed like a sign of solidarity. But what nobody in that room expected was that solidarity was about to shatter like glass. The moment the judge called OTF Vonnie to the stand, an uneasy murmur ran through the courtroom. Some of Durk's closest people knew the prosecutors had been working hard to flip witnesses, but nobody imagined Vonnie, a name Durk had stood by through music, through street loyalty, and through personal battles, would be the one walking to that witness box. Even Durk, who's faced countless betrayals in his life, couldn't hide the flicker of disbelief that crossed his face. The betrayal began subtle. Vonnie spoke in calm, deliberate tones, answering basic questions about his relationship with Durk, how long they'd known each other, the kind of things they'd been through. But then, the prosecutor steered the questioning into the night that had become central to the case. A night prosecutor's alleged ties Durk directly to a violent crime. And this is where the atmosphere in that courtroom shifted from tense to electric. Vonnie, under oath, began laying out details that not only supported the state's version of events but placed Durk in a far worse light than even the prosecution had been able to paint. Gasps rippled to the courtroom as Vonnie claimed he had no choice but to tell the truth, that he was done protecting people who wouldn't protect him. The moment was surreal. You could feel the collective disbelief. From Durk's legal team scrambling to object, to fans in the gallery clutching their phones, already typing frenzied messages to social media. And as if that wasn't enough, the next witness the prosecution called was Vonnie's father. His testimony mirrored his son's, backing up every damaging claim and adding even more context. This wasn't just a betrayal from a friend. It was a family turning against a man who had once been their golden ticket, their brother, their leader in the OTF movement. And with those statements, the bond that Durk had just posted suddenly meant nothing. The judge, who had already been skeptical of Durk's release, called for an immediate review of the terms. The prosecution, smelling blood, argued that this new testimony destroyed any presumption that Durk could be trusted to comply with the law while out on bail. Within hours, Durk's bond was revoked. He was led back to his cell, the taste of freedom ripped from his mouth before he'd even had a chance to breathe it in. And then came the most devastating part. Whispers began to circulate that the updated sentencing guidelines of prosecution would now push for community life behind bars if convicted. Social media exploded. Twitter timelines lit up with hashtags like #FreeDurk, #VonnieSnitched, and #OTFBetrayal. Instagram was flooded with side-by-side pictures of Durk and Vonnie from happier days, now framed with captions dripping in anger, disappointment, and heartbreak. Even other rappers began to weigh in, some publicly expressing disbelief that Vonnie would flip, others coldly reminding everyone that in the streets, loyalty isn't guaranteed. The betrayal didn't just damage Durk's legal chances. It tore a hole in the fabric of his brand. OTF, once seen as a fortress of brotherhood, was now being discussed like a crumbling empire, its members allegedly plotting against each other. The timing couldn't have been worse for Durk. He had been in the middle of planning new music drops, brand deals, and even quiet talks about a documentary that would detail his rise from the trenches to rap superstardom. That narrative now has a dark chapter nobody saw coming. Instead of celebrating new milestones, Durk is preparing for a fight that could define the rest of his life. His legal team, visibly shaken after the day's events, issued a brief statement insisting that the so-called revelations from Vonnie and his father were full of inconsistencies and would be dismantled in cross-examination. But the damage was already done. Prosecutors had been handed ammunition, and they weren't about to waste it. Behind the scenes, rumors began swirling about what made Vonnie flip. Some insiders claimed the state offered him a deal too good to refuse: reduced charges, witness protection, maybe even relocation. Others whisper about deep personal grudges, unspoken tensions in OTF that have been festering for years. Money disputes, jealousy over fame, accusations of being left out of major moves. All of these could have played a role, and in the court of public opinion, theories spread like wildfire. Was Vonnie simply looking out for himself and his family? Or was this a premeditated move to destroy Durk from within? Meanwhile, in his cell, Durk is said to be furious but eerily focused. Sources close to him describe him as a man who feels he's been betrayed by people he would have taken a bullet for. In phone calls to friends and family, he's allegedly vowed to fight the case harder than ever, to expose lies and clear his name no matter how long it takes. But the reality is cold. The system now has a version of events that paints him as guilty beyond reasonable doubt, and undoing that in front of jury is an uphill battle of the highest order. The psychological toll is just as heavy as the legal one. For a man who built his career on loyalty, brotherhood, and survival against the odds, seeing his own inner circle implode in front of the cameras is a wound that won't heal easily. Fans who have been with Durk since his early mixtape days know this isn't just about the music. It's about a man's life, his freedom, and his legacy. And whether you believe he's innocent or guilty, you can't deny the sheer gravity of watching such a public, gut-wrenching betrayal unfold in real time. As the legal process grinds on, all eyes are now on the next court date, where Durk's attorneys will try to claw back control of the narrative. They'll have to dismantle Vonnie's testimony piece by piece, challenge every claim, and cast doubt on the motives behind this sudden cooperation with the state.